What's up, guys? This is Andrew with Pokemon Chronicles, and I've been debating to make this video for a long time, and I finally decided I'm just going to do it. I'm going to throw out everything that I know, share my knowledge with the world, and let you guys know how you can, in all honesty, gain a massive collection. In my case, $10,000 collection for free. So let's get into it, guys. I want to start off by saying that this is not clickbait. I literally have a $10,000 collection plus, and I have done it by spending a total, when all is said and done, balanced out, $0. And so I want to show you how you can do that. But I do want to say that it comes, there are other things that there are other costs, right? There's time, a lot of time. I guess mostly time, guys. It takes a lot of time and knowledge to get to this point. And so I want to share with you guys how I got there and how you can do it too. So I'm going to start off with my story, with my origin story. Started collecting when I was a little kid, 1999. I think I was in 5th grade, and I'm 30 now. And so I remember playing Pokemon on the blacktop, and actually not playing, trading. I actually never knew how to play the game. I didn't care about playing the game, but I was trading. My mom bought me the 2-player starter deck. I remember having Machamp. I remember having a Holo Scyther, and you know, it stuck with me for that year, and then it faded. I went to junior high, and I think Pokemon slightly declined, although Pokemon was pretty big during the WotC era, but definitely declined from that original base set that came out in the Jungle and Falso, probably. I mean, those three, that was the pinnacle, the apex of my, at least, childhood Pokemon experience. And so faded out. I don't know what happened to my cards. Apparently my sister says she had like a first edition Charizard. I don't know if that actually happened, if she had it or not. She said she wanted it out of a gumball machine. You could or the sticker machine, you know, you like put the cores in there, pull out a card. I seriously doubt that happened, but everyone has their story of where their Pokemon cards were, what they had. Everyone, I mean, one thing we could get into literally an hour discussion is how to talk to people about their collection, especially if you're looking to buy someone's collection, because everyone thinks they have something way more valuable than what they actually have. And until you really have an understanding of Pokemon, of the knowledge of the history of the sets, and you go through the motion yourself, and you actually collect all the sets. It is very difficult to actually know what cards are worth. It's very difficult to know what you have. And so I want to kind of bypass some of those steps for you. There are so many things I wish I would have known, and I made a list of 10, at least 10. But I know, you know, 10's that key number. Everyone wants to hear 10 top things, right? But there's definitely more than 10 things. So we'll see where we get today. Maybe we'll make a second video, and we'll start there, guys. So number one is in the preface of number one is avoid absolutes. Okay, so whatever I say, whatever anyone says out there, if they ever use the word "you have to do this," "you must," "you absolutely," or "you never," things like that, if they're using absolutes, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying don't listen to them. I'm not saying don't listen to me. But I am saying take it with a grain of salt, because as soon as people start throwing out absolutes, you have to, you must to, you can't, never, that is rarely true in life. And that doesn't just go with Pokemon. That expands all pretty much areas of life. I mean, as soon as you start throwing absolutes, it's sketchy. It's seriously, never do this. Isn't there always a time when you can and shouldn't, right? There's always exceptions. So number one, guys, I want to talk about is quality over quantity. When to go on with this origin story, so going into quality versus quantity, 2015, 2016, I taught a summer camp with kids, and I noticed that they were playing with Pokemon cards. I had taught summer camps before, but they hadn't been playing with Pokemon cards, and all of a sudden it kind of started blowing up. This is pre-evolution era, but also going into the evolution era. This is also going into Pokemon Go, Pokemon Go territory, but this is all pre that, a year or two before. So, you know, I work with kids. I don't know where Pokemon was totally, because I wasn't there in 2007, 2008, 2009 when Pokemon was in the drain. But if you understand Pokemon, you know WotC era, boom, and then as Nintendo took over, right, we have a slight decline with that going into that Skyridge area. That's why that set is so extremely rare. You know, the print, the quantity of cards that were printed were just lower. There's just not a lot of, as you go into like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond and Pearl, you don't get a lot of people talking about that as much because there's not as much hype about it. People aren't in love with that era. People really started to fall in love back in 2015, 2016. Pokemon Go, boom. Evolutions, boom. Everyone and their grandma is getting back into it. All these, my generation, I'm 30 years old. People my age are really jumping in. Now, there are a lot of people stuck through the whole thing. We all know people. People that got me seriously back into it. They were with it the whole time. And props to them. That is, you know, more power to them. I kind of wish I did it. I am also proud that I didn't, because I know I had my own life. I did my own things, and Pokemon wasn't for me during the college years, during high school, during junior high. It wasn't my thing. But now that I'm an established adult, I have a job, I have a family, I have hobbies that I can participate in on the side. This is something I've now gotten into, and so with this quality over quantity, I started collecting with these summer camp kids, right? I mean, these are like first through sixth graders, literally. I mean, I'm involved with trading again. It was so fun. It all started with a kid gave me a card. It was probably beat to crap. I don't know what any of those, that stack is. I'd love to see it, but I do know at the end of the summer, I got those cards, and they were bent, they were creased, they were played with, they were traded, they went from hand to hand. I mean, they probably switched hands, like, you know, they were like hot commodities. They were like trading on the open stock market in NYC. I mean, it was like boom, 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 boom. Throughout the day, this, you know, whatever the hot card is going to pass hands, and that in that process, the corners are going to get bent. There's going to be whitening around the cards. Kids don't use penny sleeves and top loaders, and so I had this whole stack of cards, and I didn't understand that. Like the value, as cool as some of those cards were, there was really no value, and so I still didn't understand this. I started buying up a few collections. I found local listings, buying them up, and again, I did not understand that the value of a lot of these cards is in the condition. I mean, your perfect example is take a PSA 10 Charizard. Now compare that with a ungraded, raw, beat up first edition Charizard. Same exact card, issued the same year, and worth literally $50,000 or $49,000 difference. I mean, what PSA 10 Charizard is going for $50,000 now, and you can buy one. You can buy one for under $1,000, a raw one. In really bad condition, but you can buy one. And so I didn't understand that. And a lot of people who you talk to who have collections don't understand that. So they'll try to sell you their collection. Worst offender. I have a first edition Machamp. Look at this. It's first edition. $20,000. Saw it on eBay. Someone sold it. Okay. They don't understand anything. There's so much you have to understand about the sets, about the prints, about the little nuances, and the first big one is quality over quantity. So again, if you want to collect cards just because you are loving it, and you don't care about quality, by all means do it. I did it. I think most people do it at the beginning, but if you're planning on collecting for more than 6 months or getting serious at all, you are going to want that quantity, and that lower quality card, or you're going to want that quality, and that lower quality card is going to be hard to resell. It's also not going to fit into your collection because no one wants to show off a super crappy beat up card, right? So just go for quantity over quality. That's a great tip, but also learn for yourself. I still, occasionally, I will buy a heavily played card, depending on who's selling it, if I know the seller, and I know how their grading system works, and I know like heavy played actually means more like medium played, or moderately played, because it might be for a binder set that it's just such an expensive card, and I don't care about the card very much, and so I just kind of want it as that placeholder in the binder, and moderately played, hey, it works, right? So I collect mostly binder cards. I do have a collection of PSA cards, but I mostly do binder, and I usually go for lightly played or near mint or mint. Especially if we're talking about new cards, brand new cards, it has to be mint. I mean, there's no other question. They just got to be mint because they're so cheap. So you might as well get them mint. If you are getting cards that are beat up and they're new, they're just garbage. I mean, it has zero value at that point. I mean, not even a cent. So collect quality over quantity. All right, second, guys, is don't buy packs. Right. I just use an absolute. So if you want to buy packs, buy packs. In my opinion, do not buy packs. We'll talk about sealed collections in a second, or sealed, like old sealed product. But in general, okay. Now don't attack me just yet. In general, I'm saying, do not buy packs to open, especially modern packs, unless you are a huge distributor or you have a huge store or presence on eBay, TCG Player, something like that, or your own website, right? Because you're not going to make any money. Even these stores that do, the profit margin is not very much. I mean, if they get one return or one person who says I didn't get my card, they have a claim against them, their whole weeks of profit could be down the drain. So if you are buying a pack, here's an example. Hidden Fates right now goes for $4 retail. You can probably buy it secondhand from someone who bought a box or is collecting whatever for about $5, $6, $7, $8 per pack, right? Now, again, we're in the hype of it right now, so in a month from now, maybe that's not the case. But right now, that's about what they're going for. And so let's say you get it for $6 a pack. $6 a pack, you're probably going to open it, you're probably going to get nothing. Let's be honest. You are going to get probably nothing. Now you get that chance, you get a $1 card, right? You get a shiny card, you get that $2 card, you get a $3 card, right? Now that's one pack out of what? I don't know, every 3 packs? And then one out of a booster box, you're going to get some super crazy card, right? If you look at those cards, what they're selling for individually, they're going for pennies on the dollar. I bought a whole stack. And these are, I buy unique, so I don't buy doubles. I'm just buying every Hidden Fates card. I bought like 70 Hidden Fates cards for about like $4. Literally, that's after shipped. $4. 70 cards. Now, there was nothing crazy in there, okay? I'm not trying to lie to you. I didn't have my Shining Charizard GX in there. But that's where you can get cards super cheap. I was getting 4 cents per card. You cannot beat that by going to Walmart and buying a pack and opening it. I know there's thrill in it, but at the end of the day, it's a lottery. It's gambling, right? Don't lie to yourself and tell you it's not gambling. There's that rush. We all know what that rush is. And if you love that, more power to you. But financially, not a smart decision, okay? If you really want that Charizard GX, buy 30 booster boxes or whatever. I mean, that's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but I mean, how many booster boxes can it take you to pull that? I don't know. We all know people, or we've known people that are buying up like piles of tins and they still haven't pulled it. That is so much money. You can go Beckett 9 for I don't know what they're going for. I saw one on like Instagram for like 400. I could be wrong. I don't know where more or less that is, but they're not that expensive if you buy single cards from reputable sellers. In my opinion, TCG Player, right? eBay also, but those are for different cards. And you got to understand also where to buy cards. We can talk about that later. But what sites you're going to use, when, and what time period. There's so many factors that go into that. But at the end of the day, guys, if you do your research, you can get them for a lot cheaper than buying a packed card. And for me, getting mail from the postman is just as exciting as opening a pack of card. By the time I get mail, I'm getting like 60 at a time, 60 letters, boom, 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 boom. I'm opening them up. It is so exciting. So if you want that rush, it can still be there. All right, guys. Number 3, avoid hype. Okay, there are so many hype channels. We all know who they are. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I have watched them, and sometimes I probably still will. It can be entertaining. But don't fall into the trap of buying hype. You'll also find a lot of these hype channels, right? They don't always really know what they're talking about. And that's coming from someone who has been in the game pretty hardcore for like 4 years now. So there are people that know a lot more than me, and I watch these guys with hype channels who have like 100,000 subscribers, and they're saying things, I'm like, that's just misleading, or it's false, or like you obviously don't really understand what you're talking about. I'm not trying to insult people, guys, but that's just the truth of it. I think those people are great for the community. I think they get a lot of people involved. I think they get the new generations pumped up. There are so many, they create a lot of positivity. So I'm not trying to bring those guys down. I think they truly are awesome for the community. It's not my thing personally, but it's there, and just don't fall into the trap. Watch it if you want, but if you, again, if financially speaking, if you don't want to get sucked into a drain of getting what's cool, right, and then realizing that a month later that the price has just gone down the toilet because Pokemon or Nintendo has decided to reprint that set and saturate the market, then try not to fall into the whole hype thing. It can be fun, but I would personally try to avoid it. All right, guys. Number 4 is understanding grading services, authenticators. So we do have. So here's PSA is probably your main source or your main guy to go to for getting cards graded. I wasn't into graded cards, and I'm so. A lot of people are. It's just I am a like at heart I am a binder collector. I love being able to hold the card. There's just something about that experience for me that works. But PSA cards are great, or graded cards are great. So here's what you need to know. There's Beckett, and then there's PSA. Those are our two main players. There are other little offshoots of Beckett like BCCG and some other little crappy services that will do stuff. If you are serious about getting a graded card, buy PSA, and occasionally buy your Beckett card, right? Beckett, I would probably say, if you're getting a 10, if you're getting any type of 10, or maybe a 9.5, or maybe a 9 even, nothing wrong with doing Beckett. Majority of cards you're going to see in the second market are going to be PSA graded, and that's why it's probably just safe to stay with PSA. Now, Beckett grades using a different scale. They use 4 different metrics on their card to give you an overall score, and that's all averaged. And so they actually don't always use whole numbers. You can get like a 9.5 or an 8.5, whereas in PSA you're just going 1 through 10 whole numbers, no in between, no decimals. And typically, guys, people are going with PSA, but there's right now there's currently like a little bit of a fad. Everyone's trying to get like gold, like the little gold plate Beckett 10 pristine, right? So it's like a 10 across the board, so 10 centering, 10 corners, 10 edging. I forgot what the other metric is, but that's kind of a little bit of a fad right now, and that's great, guys. I mean, a solid 10 like that's unbelievable. Depending on the card, right? Newer modern cards are a lot easier to grade. So there's a lot of little things within grading that you should know. For example, modern cards a lot easier to grade. Why? Because the printing quality is better. Old cards like WotC, a lot more difficult to grade because the printing quality wasn't as good. Plus, people are getting them graded now, and those cards have been in people's attics, they've been in binders, they've been maybe shuffled around a little bit, and so there might be a scuff here or there. So just based off of availability, there's going to be, and when that availability has been, passed around for 20 years, there's going to be more likely of a chance that they've been scuffed up a little bit, right? So in general, older cards are hard to grade, newer cards are a lot easier to grade, better quality. Japanese is easier to grade. So you'll see PSA 10s all day with Japanese because their quality has always been better than the English printing. Now it's probably comparable. Now modern cards, English, Japanese, they're probably somewhat comparable. Someone might be able to give you a little more information on that one that does more grading. But typically, guys, that's a general thing to think about. As a new collector, you got to pick your route. Do you want to go raw cards? Do you want to go with binders? Or do you want to start doing PSA? PSA is going to be more expensive. If you're going to go PSA Beckett route, I would suggest finding a third party who can do it for you, who already has a membership. Your overall grading fee is going to be cheaper. Yeah, you got to pay to ship it to them, and they're going to ship it to PSA. They're going to get it back. They're going to ship it to you. So there are some weird costs in there. But overall, if you don't have a membership to PSA, you could be paying double or 1.5 times what you might be paying with a third party grading service. People that are sending in bulk orders, hundreds of cards, submitting it for people in the community. There are very reputable and trustable people. If you're interested, let me know. I personally buy graded cards from people who've already gotten them graded. My perfect example is a card that has literally no value. So I want to show it to you. But you got to remember, if you want a graded card, you're looking anywhere from $10 to $30 at the end of the day when all's said and done. I mean, shipping expenses, if you're going third party, whatever it is, you're looking at $10 to $30 depending on what route you're going, how you're doing it, if there's a deal going on, all those types of things. Now, so let's just say $20. You get a card that costs $20, 15, 20 bucks to grade. I got this for $4. Now this card doesn't have much value. It's just a cool little card added to my Charizard collection. It's a top sticker card, but it has the little Charmander family on here, evolution, and I bought it from PWCC with some other stuff. So the shipping was essentially free. It was maybe like 50 cents if you want to tack that on here. So like $4.50. I think actually the card was $3.50 plus 50 cents probably tax or plus shipping. So at the end of the day, $4, guys. Someone down the road lost money. I mean, because this costs more than $4 to get graded. So somewhere down the road, someone lost money, and that's where I come in. I buy cards sometimes from people who already have them graded because I don't want to go through the trouble of getting cards graded myself because it's such an expense. If you are opening just so much product and you have a membership or you are just consistently going through a third party, then by all means send in your stuff through them. But as for me, as a smaller collector of PSA cards, I buy them secondhand from people who already have had them graded. So that's kind of your little basic intro to PSA and Beckett. Realize that also there's a population report on every card. So if you want to know how many first edition Charizard PSA 5s there are, you can go on to PSA.com, you can look at the pop report, and you can see how many there are. That will tell you how scarce or how rare a card really is, right? I mean, if there's one PSA 10 in the world of a certain card, well, then you know why it's demanding such a high price. So it's something to take into account. A card like this, I'm showing you guys some cheaper cards here, but this is a PSA 9 Charizard GX from Burning Shadows. I mean, guys, there are so many PSA 9s of this. You might say, oh, it's a PSA card, it's graded, it's in that nice slab, and it's a PSA 9, right? Well, take into account, American English quality is better, so PSA 9 is nothing. It's also modern, so the printing's better. Take into account, modern has been printed like no other. I mean, there's so many. So go check this out. I don't know the pop report because I don't care, honestly, because it's going to be through the roof. There's going to be so much of this available that you shouldn't be paying very much for this, right? You might pick this up for 20, 30 bucks, somewhere around there, right? So not all PSA cards are super expensive either. That's something to take note of. I collect these not to resell or anything, but just because I like having a collection of PSA Charizards in the slabs. That's one thing that I do collect. All right, guys. Next, I want to talk about where to find information. That is something I struggled with for so long. Was where I just need to know things. Where can I get my answers, my questions answered? Where can I just find sources of knowledge? And so I'm gonna give you, I'll give you two, the two main ones. So here's what I use: E4. E4 is a discourse board online, and it has your top of the world collectors in there daily, if not by the hour, updating information. You can go on there and ask any question, and I guarantee you'll be answered within an hour. That is how fast this information is being poured out, and how quick these guys are to respond. I'm also on the responding, but I also ask questions. And so if you want to know something, just a super tiny, it could be, I asked a insanely specific question about a specific EX Blastoise from XY set. There was apparently two types of hollows from it. There was like just the normal hollow that everyone knows about, and then I found on another site that there was actually a second printing of this card that had a different type of hollow pattern. Such a small nuance. No one cares about, no one knows. You can't find the card available anywhere because people that are selling this card don't know the difference because no one knows, no one cares, no one's collecting it. I asked it, I had an answer later that day. There are people in there who know everything. You have the guys like Scott Pratt, probably, arguably, that's probably debatable, but arguably probably the biggest collector in the world. You have someone like drawing blank, guys, but guy from Pawn Stars, who, gosh, if these guys are watching, they're gonna kill me. But the guy from Pawn Stars who brought in like the huge Charizard collection, you know, they're on there. A lot of your big names who you don't know about. I mean, no one's gonna know who your huge collectors are in the Pokemon community until you go to these places and you start hearing the names, you start seeing their videos. You're like, okay, these guys are also on YouTube, but they're all stacked here and they're all helping with the discourse, right? And so E4 is your first source of knowledge. You go there with any question. You go there with current updates, anything that's being currently printed by Pokemon, whether it's promos or Japanese or English. It's all there. It'll all be updated. It's a little bit, the format is a little bit like 1998 Windows, but like it could use some the site could use a little bit of update, but I can't diss on it. I mean, I absolutely love it. But the second place you're going to use is Bulbapedia. Bulbapedia is an online dictionary. It's an online, I want to say online Wikipedia, online encyclopedia. And so anything you want to know, also you could just search in there, and it's been updated. So one thing I use it for a lot is I'll go to, I'm trying to collect every English set ever, and so I'll go there for to find out a specific set. So for example, I could go look up evolutions, right? I go look up evolutions, and I can find a set list of every card that's ever printed. I could also find the Japanese cards that were printed, and then I could find out all the extra cards that were printed, whether it's promos or staffs or pre-release or like weird holos that as a completionist that I collect. You can find everything on there. So that's another place you can use for just a lot of your really, really basic information. Guys, question number 6, or tip number 6 is where to buy cards from. This is one I wish I would have known from the beginning, but didn't. So first of all, you have local listings. Whatever that is, that's a source. That could be Craigslist, which don't really endorse, but it could be somewhere like Craigslist, could be like Facebook Marketplace. Your local listings, wherever you see local listings, that could be your first place. But as far as online, where you're probably going to get your best deals, where the market's going to be the most competitive, is going to be, depending on the card. This is something you just have to discover for yourself. I could probably speak for an hour on really when to use each site, but there are 3 sites that I use. Are there more? Sure. These are the 3 that I use, and anything else, in my opinion, is going to be either close to one of the other ones or really won't compete in the open market as far as prices go. So first one is tcgplayer.com. tcgplayer.com has every, okay, so they do have every set, essentially, English set. Their site is a little bit tricky to find very special cards. But if you're just looking for your normal set cards, they're going to have everything. And, for example, let's go, you search a, let's just pull a random card here. Okay, so you search a Charizard from, I forgot what set this is, but from this set, right? So you search it up, and you might find 20 copies of it, and they're being sold by 20 different sellers, and every seller is going to be competing with other sellers for the lowest price. So it's a lot like eBay, except the cards are always there. They're not being auctioned off. They're just there with a set price, and whoever's listing the new price is probably going to outbeat your other card. Now the cards are listed from damaged to heavily played to moderately played to lightly played to near mint. Those are your five grades on TCG Player, and so you can search it by the grade. You can search it by reverse holo, first edition, shadowless, all those types of things. And so that is typically a probably more than 1/3 of where I buy my cards from. Second place is Troll and Toad. I used Troll and Toad a lot when I first got off into collecting because it was the only place I knew of. And then slowly I kind of faded away, and now I'm kind of going back to it with some of the changes with TCG Player, with their shipping and taxes. So Troll and Toad, same, mega store, warehouse of every card you can imagine, multiple copies. They also actually have multiple sellers competing, but for the most part, most cards are from Troll and Toad directly, and their prices aren't always as competitive as TCG Player. Sometimes they are, sometimes they do beat them, It depends. It really depends. I should just say that. It just depends. You got to do your research. If you don't care, just go with one or the other. I'm very, very picky. I mean, I'm down with, even with commons and uncommons. I was doing a first edition gym challenge set, and even with those common cards, which they're not crazy. I mean, they're like 50 cents, right? Maybe even less, maybe a little bit more. I was still going back and forth, comparing, buying how I could manage, and finding the best price. So that's your second site. Third place is eBay. Now be careful with eBay. Check sold listings. That is a tip you must know. Is you have to go to eBay and you have to go to click on the left side of their crappy website and go to eBay sold listings. Because the sold listings, if you check from, and then after you click on sold listing, go to most recent. So you're going to find out that card, when it was sold, and at what price. If you just go to eBay listings, you're going to find what people are selling them for, and people can sell them for whatever they want, and that's not necessarily the fair market value of a card. A perfect example is, again, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but is when I find people trying to sell a first edition Machamp, that card is literally worth anywhere from 20 cents to $1. It's not worth much more. If anyone's telling you it's worth more, that's not true. I mean, in great condition, maybe a little bit more. PSA 10, oh my gosh, you just hit the jackpot. But because that card grade is a very hard grade. But generally speaking, that card is very cheap. In used condition, that card is cheap. I literally have hundreds of them because I love the card and it's so cheap. So I just buy them up all the time. I just love them. I don't care. I'm not going to sell them to anyone. I just collect them for me because it's something I enjoy. And they are so cheap, and I get people all the time. They'll be part of the collection. I'm not looking for Machamps from people ever. I just kind of randomly happens that I get them. But someone will have them in their collection, like, oh my gosh, check this out. Yeah, this is part of my collection. This card, $20,000. I'm like, where are you getting that from? And I try not to be offensive because people get so defensive so quick with their collections. And I understand there's a lot of emotional attachment there. But they'll say, well, on eBay, look at this listing. It's selling for $10,000. Okay, first of all, that's a PSA graded card. This is not your raw piece of crap card. Second of all, they are selling it. Just because they're selling it for that price doesn't mean it's going to sell. I can go sell my house for $2 million. No one's going to buy it, right? I mean, just because it's on eBay doesn't mean that's its actual price. So go to sold listing and see what it's consistently selling for. You also might get people who are shill bidding. And so there might be a price that's just way out of the normal, and that one, maybe discredit it. It's an outlier. So those are my three sites. eBay's, Troll and Toad, and TCG Player. With all of them, they always have deals going on. So if you're looking to get something expensive or looking to sell something expensive, maybe wait till that time comes. I actually started tracking when they would sell them, and I found little patterns of when they would start doing it. That's a little thing that's come over the years. I start tracking when those sales are coming up, so I know kind of when to expect it. Okay, I know TCG Player hasn't had a sale in 3 weeks. It's about time. They're going to be having one soon. I should stock up my shopping cart, and I'll buy when it's time. Next, guys, is condition of cards. So this goes for buying cards as well as selling them. But when I first started buying cards, like I said, I didn't understand the little nuances. So here are things to look for. I made a little list. Edging. Does your card have edging? Let's see. So let's see if we can even get this on here. You can see there is some edging right there, that white, okay? Next is corners. Check the corners. All right, this card isn't bad. The most of the sides and the corners are actually clean, but right there and right there we have some edging. So if you're looking to buy cards, people are always, not always, but a lot of people are going to try to charge you way too much because they don't understand that there's a price difference in this card that's new mint condition, near mint, and a card that is in moderately played condition. They don't understand that, and in all honesty, guys, it's 95% of the time it's not worth trying to go and explain that to people who are selling their cards because most people get defensive. Most people don't believe you. People who are selling their cards who don't know what they're selling, you cannot just teach them in 5 minutes, and most people think you're probably trying to scam them. So it's a tough game to play. You can inform people. I'll just say most of the time it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. But so look for that condition. Look for the edging. Look for dents. Look for centering. What I mean by centering is a card centered. See if I can find a bad example of a centered card. I'm probably not going to find one here. Is a card centered? And what we mean by that, we'll just take a random card out of here. All right. So this card, it looks decently centered. You can tell that the side maybe is slightly not as centered. It's maybe the card's kind of shifted this way. So when you're getting cards graded by PSA, you want to understand that centering, even if your card is in perfect, pristine condition, if your card is not centered perfectly, you do not have a gem mint material card. So there are some cards that were just printed as such, where the centering is typically always, or most time, off. And so those cards are extremely difficult to grade. There's a lot of WotC era cards that are just very difficult to grade, not because it doesn't have the scratch or the whitening, but because the cards were not centered well. I don't really know why that happens. I don't know if they were always like the corner card or whatever happened, but that is an important part to know when you're looking to grade cards, at least. If you're looking to buy cards just for a binder or something, not a big deal probably. But that's something to take into account when you're looking to grade cards, especially if you're looking to grade modern cards. You probably don't want to grade a lot of modern cards unless they're like PSA 10, PSA 9 quality. Personally, I wouldn't do it unless I thought it was for sure a 10. But that's just me. And that 10 needs to have really close to perfect centering. I think Beckett might be slightly more difficult to get that 10 because their centering is just a little bit more strict. Like that gold label 10 or sorry, black label 10, right? That centering just has to be spot on. So that's why sometimes actually a Beckett 10, that black label 10 can actually be more expensive than your PSA 10 for that reason, because the Beckett 10 is just perfect in every sense of the word. So be looking for that when you're buying up collections, when you're buying used cards. Look for those things. If people are telling you that they have near mint cards but there's dents on them, if there's scratches on the hollow foil, that's really not a near mint card. I mean, depending on who's saying it, there's different levels of objectivity. So TCG Player has different standards than eBay or than Troll and Toad. And if someone sells me a mint or near mint card, I expect it to be pretty good. I give people the benefit of the doubt, and honestly, with most cards, it's like if it's a grade, half grade here and there, it's like whatever. But if you're sending me near mint cards and it's like moderately played, if there's like whitening on the sides and hollow scratches, that's not near mint. And depending on the card, I would totally ask for a refund. I think that's within your means to do that. Don't feel like you can't. I mean, also again, talk to sellers. When it comes to return, talk to sellers. Be respectful. There could be an honest mistake. Also, people grade them differently, and if you bought according to their grading standard, then I guess you lose and learn your lesson there. People will a lot of times state what their grading standards are. A lot of times for near mint, for some people, it can have a hollow scratch or two, or it can have like varying levels of whitening or corner wear. Typically, it's going to be a pretty good card, but also no, near mint is not mint. So that's why you got to give a little bit of leeway with that from the buyer and seller's perspective. So look at condition. To add to that, there's water damage. There is so be careful with water damage. And lastly, guys, with condition is don't buy the grade, buy the card. Okay, so if you really like this card, this PSA 9 Charizard, then buy it, right? But don't pay $20,000 for a PSA 10 because it's a PSA 10, right? I mean, if you really like the card, buy the grade second. The example, I'm forgetting if we talked about it in this video or not, but is that PSA 10 Hidden Fates GX Charizard, right? The shiny Charizard that sold for $10,000. I mean, I don't know if I want to get into that right now or whatever, but there's so much like kind of like almost drama around that. A lot of discussion, discourse around it. I won't go into my take. I want to be respectful of everyone's purchases, and there's if you love something, then by all means, then love it and buy it and own it. But also, if you're buying it because it's a 10, be careful. I mean, buy it because you love it, not because necessarily it's a 10. Otherwise, you might not be making the smartest choice. But also, in saying that, PSA 10s generally are going to be a safer investment or purchase than like a PSA 5, right? It will sell if you're going with your like a first edition Charizard PSA 10. Okay, that's a really safe investment because I remember when that card was selling for under 20,000 all day, and I like was like, this would be really cool to buy. I should buy it. I mean, I don't have $20,000, but I wish I did, and maybe I could have came up with $20,000. Probably not, but and now they're going for $50,000, and so in that case, I mean, that's I guess that's a different case. It's like if you're buying it purely because you think that it's going to go up, you're kind of speculative, buying it more as like a stock, then maybe that's a different case. Again, there's no absolutes, but in general, buy the card first and then buy the grade second. All right, guys. Next is return policy. Know your return policies. I wish I would have known this. I found it really quick, so you'll find out really quick too if you haven't already. But know your return policies. eBay, you are 100% protected. If you don't like it for any reason, you have the right to protect it. You have the right to return it. Now, I hate that and I love it. As a buyer, I love it. I'm protected. As a seller on eBay, I hate it not because I don't want to accept returns, but because that sets me up for potential scams. I'm not going to go into what those are, but you might be able to come up with some, or maybe you've heard of some. But no, as a buyer, you are protected. No, on eBay. Also, Troll and Toad, you are protected. If something is not right, if something is missing, I've typically on Troll and Toad, only things I've had to call them about has been cards that are missing or cards that have been swapped. So like a Gym Challenge card for a Gym Heroes card, maybe like a Rattata for a Rattata, and the other one they switch them. Their little tiny mistake. Call them up. They are so slow by email. Don't email them. Just call them by the phone. They'll answer. They'll send you a replacement. But know that, because I didn't know that, and I was emailing for like 3 weeks. No one ever returned my email. TCG Player, same thing. TCG Player has your back. So if there's an issue, talk to the seller respectfully. Always be respectful, guys. I mean, as a seller and as a buyer, things are just going to go a lot better if you're just being respectful. But TCG Player has your back. So if you cannot resolve it with the seller, TCG Player will have your back. I have ordered thousands, in between 1,000, 2,000 area of orders from TCG Player. I've had sometimes things have been missing. I think they have not been sent. I've had cards that have come back horribly graded. I mean, near mint cards that are damaged. And again, talk to the seller. Send pictures if you need to. If that does not resolve the problem, which I'd say 90% of the time it does. Most people are really willing to work with you because sellers, guys, live off of your feedback for eBay and for TCG Player. They do not want lower than 5-star feedback. So most people are willing to do that. Most people are even not kind enough to take a loss on it. They might let you keep the card that was missent, and then let's say they don't send you the first edition. That's a poor example. Let's say they misplace a card and they send you the wrong card. Most people will let you keep that card, then they'll resend you the other card. Some people will let you keep the card and they'll just refund you. So most people are really good with it. I'd say of the returns that I have, I'd say 5% of them are sellers that just don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're scammy. I don't know if they're new. I don't know. But those are the cases TCG Player steps in and will refund you 100%. So know that you're always protected. That's something you just got to know as a buyer. It's a buyer's market. You are protected. So just know that. Number 9, guys, is vintage over modern. Now, we're not going to use absolutes here. We're going to try not to. But typically go with vintage over modern if you are collecting. Vintage is going to hold its value. Vintage is typically on the rise. Now, this depends on the card, right? We just used the first edition Charizard. Typically on the rise. Now, that's assuming that our economy is doing well, things are on the rise. But even when the economy doesn't do so well, even when we go into these recessions, those cards typically tend to plateau. They don't typically go down. Now, modern product on the other hand, hype central. When that thing comes out, boom. It is like it's soaring through. The perfect example right now is Hidden Fates. But in 2 months from now, when a new set comes out, it's going to be that set, and then in 2 more months, it's going to be the next set. There's always hype. The price of those cards is always just through the roof, and But as those cards become less playable, so there's another thing you gotta understand is that in the TCG card game, so people that are actually not just collecting but they're playing different cards, are there's more of a demand for them. So this comes basic supply and demand is if Cynthia has, if it's super playable, everyone can use it in their deck right now. There's going to be more of a demand on it. There's going to be less quantity out in the open market, and that price is going to go up. Now, give that card 4 months, give it a year, give it 2 years where it's not even playable anymore. You can't even use it in a standard playable tournament deck. Then those cards come back onto the market, and now the price just drops. So typically those modern rise, plateau, drop. Will it ever go up again? Only time will tell. Old WotC cards, it was the same thing. I think, at the beginning, boom, going up, plateau, probably came down. Give it a few years, they came back up. Now WotC is just consistent on the rise, and as most collectors would believe, we're all going to speculate, and for the hope of all of us and our wallets and our bank accounts, we won't really ever see the older sets ever in a decline again, because there are consistently buyers out there. We now have our kids who are 10 years old, who are now my age, who are now 30. 10 years from now, we're going to be 40. We're still going to be looking for what we did as a kid, right? My dad wanted a toy that he had when he was 8, and he's almost 60, right? So, and he has a lot more money than I do. So people with money can get these. So I believe that the old WotC cards, you're never really going to see a dip or decline on that again. You might see a plateau for some of them, but generally speaking, and as we have seen in the past, I can't really vouch for more than 5 years, but from my understanding of it, even more than 5 years back, we're just seeing a consistent rise with WotC. With modern, we just don't know yet. But if you want your safer bet, you go with older over vintage over modern. My next point, guys, is knowledge. Knowledge is money. That's what this is all about. This whole video is about knowledge. It's about sharing my knowledge with you. It's something, honestly, I was a little scared to do, because knowledge for me is money. It's what has given me a $10,000 collection. And if I'm sharing that knowledge, I'm spreading that knowledge into the viewers, into other consumers who can use that knowledge, and then they can compete with me. So it's kind of been a little bit of a of a struggle to share it, but in all honesty, I don't think any of this is too mind-blowing. I think there are some good tips here, but for anyone that's serious, that's spending, at this point 47 minutes watching this, I think you deserve some of these basic tips. So knowledge is money. Keep record of finances, guys. So here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how I got this $10,000 collection for free. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details. I need to kind of take my word on it, and I don't feel like I need to be, I don't feel as though I need to really go into much detail about it, or I don't care if you believe me or not. But here is what I will show you, just a little tidbit. So here we have my Pokemon budget, and over here we can see my income and my expenses and my balance. Currently I'm actually a little bit in the negative because I just went through a little buying phase. So you can see that. Now, guys, I keep perfect track of everything I buy and sell. This list, this Excel sheet, goes down for hundreds and hundreds of lines. I started doing this about 2 years ago, so I don't even know before that how much money was invested or how much I made. Every penny I make goes back in my collection. Currently, my income is, I've made just over $10,000 in cash on Pokemon, $10,700, and my expenses have been $11,671. So I'm a little bit more on my expenses. Now you might say, well, if you've spent all your money, or if all the money you've made, you've spent, how do you have a $10,000 collection? Because you had to buy stuff, and that's a loss of money. I have a formula for when I buy things, I buy it at a certain percentage below value, and so the cards, all the money I put back into my collection, either for resale or for my collection, I make sure that whatever amount is, so let's say I spend $1,000, which I just did the other day, spend $1,000 on cards, I made sure that $1,000 of that of that money goes into cards that I'm going to be keeping because I bought them under value. So it's $10,000 worth of cards that I bought for well below, or $1,000 worth of cards that I bought well below $1,000. That's now in my collection. All leftovers I sell and I make another $1,000. So not only I'm breaking even, but now I'm putting $1,000 of cards worth in my collection. Won't go too much into that, guys, but I mean, through that, I have been able to buy some cool things. I bought my dream guitar. I bought an American-made Fender Stratocaster. So it's given me some play money to buy some things. This is an expensive guitar. This was $1,000 guitar. When all was said and done, with a few other little features, but it's doable. But you gotta keep track of your finances. You gotta know when you buy something, if you're selling it to flip, which personally, guys, I don't have a problem flipping. I know there's been some talk, I know SM Pratt's talked about it before about flippers, and personally, I think maybe it's just the way that I'm interpreting it. I feel like there's a big misunderstanding of what flipping is. But at the end of the day, if you see a deal, if you see something that's way under market value, and then buy it. And if you don't want it for your collection, then sell it, then flip it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that's just being a smart consumer. I think that's being a smart investor. If there's a stock that's super undervalued and you just think it's going to soar, then it wouldn't be stupid or cheap or whatever for you to buy it and then to resell it when it goes up. I mean, that's just being smart. So I know there's a lot of this like hate on flippers, but I just feel honestly like maybe that's like, maybe people are talking about a different way, because there are a type of flippers that I don't like, which maybe is what they're talking about. And those type of flippers, to clarify, would be people who are buying cards that they cannot afford. Example, I sold a few of these, and I sold them at market price, and I made quite a bit of money. I sold a stack of Charizard cards. I made money. This guy, I mean, I'm not going to get into what he looked like he'd definitely afford it. I met him in person. He buys them, and then 4 months later, I'm seeing them as a local listing, selling them for slightly above what I was selling them. They're still there a month later. The next month I see him listed below what I was selling him, so now he's losing money. So he's trying to play this flipping game, but he's not understanding that like the price that I sold him the cards at were already at the fair market value, if not even honestly slightly above. I mean, I was making some money on it, and I wasn't ripping anyone off, but I mean, I was making money on it too. Like, they were cards that I was selling to flip. So I was selling to flip, and then he was trying to flip my flip. It didn't make sense. You have to understand the cards you're buying if you're going to flip. You have to understand their history. Check eBay sold listings. If you're finding a card, PSAs are going to be really safe. If you're finding a card, check its listings. Check its sold listing. If you're finding that you can get it for way underneath, snipe it. That's what your highest end collectors are doing, that all the time. They're doing it with sealed product. They're doing it with they're buying out collections in a way that's flipping. I mean, when you're buying out a collection, you're not buying it to keep generally. You're buying it to keep some of it, and then you're going to try to make your money back selling the rest of it off. And that's flipping. So I don't have a problem with flipping. I think flipping is smart. I think if you do it correctly, it's smart. I think if you're not doing it right, it can kind of send off the wrong vibes. If you're trying to if you're trying to rip people off, I think you can throw out some wrong vibes. If you don't know what you're doing, it looks dumb. If your prices are off, again, it looks dumb. But if you find something undervalued and then you sell it at its market value, then that's just smart. I think that's a great way. That is how I built up my collection, guys. So I guess I should get into that a little bit more. Not just these 10 tips, but actually how I got that collection. I got that collection by buying up collections. I found local listings. I found my first purchase, my first big purchase was $100 shoebox of cards. They were old WotC cards. I had no idea what I was doing. $100 was so much to me. I was just married. I was in college. My wife was in college. $100, it was some old Christmas money I had. So I wasn't spending. So first of all, this is also what I hate about some flippers, is like you can tell that life conditions are not the best and they're using like grocery money, and I don't think that's very smart. There's other things you can do with your money, right? Get a better job, get a little side hustle, use your money, or whatever. But anyways, I bought this box, $100, used some old Christmas money. I wish I would have understood. This is where knowledge would have came in. But you make a lot of mistakes at the beginning. It was full. So in 3 rows of it would have been probably 3,000 bulk WotC, but it wasn't just like common uncommons. It was like tons of Shadowless. There was first edition. There was tons of hollows. I bought this and I got so antsy. I was like, I can't believe I just bought this. I took one of every card. Now, I didn't even know, I don't think I even knew the difference between Shadowless at that point, so I probably didn't even pick out the Shadowless cards. I didn't know all the little errors, which we all know. That could be another video, but all the little errors there are within cards, so I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for a lot of little details within cards that collectors know about. Your red cheeks Pikachu versus your yellow cheeks Pikachu, all these little things. I started sorting them out in piles of 100, and I was selling them for $10 a piece. I mean, I would buy 100. I guess like if it was just purely like used bulk WotC at $10 a piece for 100, I would probably still buy that. I think that's actually like a pretty fair thing, but it wasn't just that. I mean, you had your rare trainers. You had hollows in there. You had promos. You had cards in like near mint condition. You just had a lot of really good stuff, and I knew what I was doing. I sold off the majority of it. I kept a good portion for myself, but I sold off the majority just so I could make my money back. And then I was like, whew, I could breathe. I got my $100 back. I have a little bit of cards left. I felt good, right? But it was through that process that I learned that you could make money off this. I didn't make much money off it. I think I just made my money back at that. But I made the $100. I had a collection of cards for myself. I kept a lot of the hollows, and then I had $100 now, and I respent that. I put it back into cards, and I kept doing that. And over time, as I gained knowledge of the cards, of the nuances within the sets, of putting together sets, of how to better market my cards instead of just throwing 100 cards randomly. Here you go, everyone, take it. Because I had people buying those up so quick. That's a sign I must have been doing something wrong. If everyone's just coming over buying all those things for me. Usually, if people are buying them that quick, I mean, you're probably selling them too cheap. But that's how I got it. I did that now, guys, for almost 4 years, but on a larger level. So now I'm buying up collections that are a lot more expensive. I'm finding good deals. I'm sniping. I'm looking at my eBay listings. I'm bookmarking things and getting notified when things come out. I am using TCG Player and eBay bonus bucks, so I'm getting kickbacks on it. The other day there was a 10% kickback, so I bought about $1,000, and then I had $100 spent. I was gonna buy. Eventually, I was gonna spend $1,000 anyways. So why not get the $100 free, and then I can put it back into cards? I mean, I could find a card on there for sure. If you spent some time, you can spend $100, buy a card on TCG Player, and you could resell it and probably make $50. It might take you a minute. You got to find the right condition. You got to find the right seller. All those things. I'm not simply just advocating for flipping again, but I'm just saying are smart ways you can make money off of this. And so I've done that. I bought up 2 years ago around Christmas, this lady, she had her whole living room was full of toys. She was a little crazy, but her living room was full of toys, and she had this huge collection of Pokemon cards. Binders stacked from the floor to like here. I mean, it was like 5 feet. It was like 3 feet high of binders plus boxes. I went over her house. She was selling them so cheap. It was like 10 or 20 cents for holographic cards. Now these were more modern. There was not a lot of things, and even at this time, I still didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, cool, hollows. Like those got to be more expensive. I didn't really know, but as it turns out, I was getting a good deal. I was. So I bought up a bunch of hollows. I left with a box, a box this big of hollows, so not very much from what she had. But I was looking through TCG Player after on eBay, looking through. I was like, oh, cool, I made some really good purchases right here. I can resell these in some sets, and then I text her, called her, I was texting her over the break, and I was like, listen, I'm interested in buying everything. What's your lowest price? We negotiated a price. It was a few $100s. Bought the whole thing. And that was over Thanksgiving. Then over Christmas, when the holiday was, when Pokemon Market was hot, I started selling those in bundles. And I strategically, here's a big part, sell things strategically. Don't just throw things out there, Oh, pile of cards. No one wants that. Any serious collector doesn't want that. Even kids don't want that, right? Oh, it's a mystery bundle. No one wants a mystery bundle. People want to know what they're getting. And so, I was putting together these really nice sets with certain amount of EX, certain amount of hollows, and then a lot of bulk cards. But to a lot of people just wanted bulk, and I had them cheap. I was getting them like 1 cent per card, and I was selling them in like groups of 100. And I made my money back plus hundreds of dollars after that. And that was my first very, very big hit. I don't know how much money I made, maybe like $600 on that. Plus, I now have an inventory that's huge because of it. I now have boxes of leftover cards from that I don't even know what to do with. I mean, they're just honestly. I mean, at this point, they're from the XY era, so they're just whatever. I just have them aside, and they're gonna sit there until I figure out something to do with them. But that's happened over and over again into points where I'm buying up collections and I'm taking a look at it. We make an offer, and I'm being smart. I'm not gonna take a loss on it. I'm not honestly gonna take a risk on it. But I'm gonna buy it, and then I go through it, and I realize I can put together an entire base set out of this. I can sell that base set, and I can make almost all my money back. And now I have a couple thousand extra cards to play with, to either keep or to resell. So, I mean, that's another huge thing. Is find what people want. Be strategic with your sales. Put them in lots. Put them in sets. But put them with people want. People, I mean, literally, guys, people do not want mystery things. I see this all the time with local listings where it's like you can buy a mystery set. They take a picture of upside down Pokemon cards. It's like, you buy 20 cards, no returns. I mean, that's just like scam city. No one wants to buy flipped over cards. They don't know what they're buying, right? So make sure you're doing it the right way. But buy and sell, and then keep. That's what I did, guys. Buy, sell, and keep. Next, guys, just a few last things here. Avoid Instagram scams. There's a lot of good stuff you can get on Instagram, but guys, avoid raffles. I am on to... I won't get into it, guys, but I am on to quite a few sellers. I don't do Instagram raffles because I don't even buy packs of cards, so I'm not... So Instagram raffles are just another form of gambling, of this huge reward but huge amount of risk. Guys, I'm pretty sure that the majority of them are scams. I think there are some good people that are doing them, and I just think they're scammy. I think there's a lot of fake accounts. I think there are fake programs. We already know. If you've been in the Instagram community for any period of decent time, you know that there are people that have been caught. There are fake programs that look like random.org. They're not, right? I mean, guys, I just think there's such a high temptation. It's like, if people are just sending you money, and it's like, I can just let my friend win this and then give him $50 for being the winner instead of giving him a $2,000 booster box. Like, I don't know. You got to be a little bit naive to really go in on these. So avoid them. I might get some kickback from that. If you see any down thumbs on this video, it's probably people that are actively pursuing Instagram scams and doing raffles. But it's just what it is. I'll take the hit on it. I don't care. I'm pretty sure that the majority of them, because we already know for a fact that some of them are, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of them are pretty scammy. Let's see. Yeah, guys, don't buy everything. Don't buy everything. Set goals. My first goal was to complete a base set, then a fossil set, then a jungle set. I never thought in a million years I'd complete a shadowless set. A year later, completed a shadowless set. I never in a million years, beyond my wildest dreams, when I was living in this little shack of an apartment, college, married with a wife, with very little income, I never thought I'd own a complete first edition base set. I'm like 5 cards away from her now. They're all hollow, but I got the charge out of the way. I got some of the big boys out of the way. But, I mean, guys, it's doable. You set goals. You go little by little. Things that you didn't think would happen slowly become a reality as you learn the market better, as you understand the Pokemon history better, as you understand trading better, buying, everything. As you understand it all better, your goals are going to get bigger and grander. But always do what you like, for sure. Always do what you like. You're going to hear that a lot. Also, know what fake cards look like. Personally, I bought some fake cards just so I knew what they would look like, and I'm really glad I did because now I know what they look like. I have one right here to show you guys. It is what is this? Burning Shadows, hyper rare Charizard. This sells for a few $100s. If you get PSA 10, it's going to be super expensive. But this is fake. I mean, honestly, wow. From this angle and with the light hitting it, it's so easy to tell this is fake. But you might not know that if you're just getting into cards. This should be textured, by the way, but it's like smooth. I'm not advocating that you go and buy fake cards on purpose. I know maybe it's not super ethical, but honestly, as a collector, I think it's not a bad idea to know what's out there, to know what to look for. I've been sent fake cards, and I've had to do a little bit of research. Paper quality, guys, if it's super thin, if it's too thick, usually it's too thin because the cardstock should be like 3 layers, but usually it's too thin. The printing's off. If anything looks off, then it's probably off and it's probably fake. I mean, Pokemon cards are generally printed pretty good, with the exception of miscuts and off-centering, and the few errors, which are really well known now and they're really well documented. If anything looks off, it's probably fake. It doesn't happen to me hardly ever, but it's happened to me a few times where I have gotten a fake card, and I think it was legitimately on accident that I was sent to me, because I had one that was in a collection for like 2 years, and I finally picked it up. It was like in heavily played condition, and I finally picked it up. I'm like, it's kind of dirty and it's not great, but also actually the printing's off. I didn't notice it because I was so distracted by some like the crappiness of the overall condition of the card that I didn't realize also that the quality of the card was poor. So anyways, it happens, guys. You learn from your mistakes. Don't buy beyond your means. I already kind of mentioned that, guys. Do not, get a sidekick. Get a little side job you can do. I can talk to you about what I do for. I'm a school teacher, but I do a little side job to earn some hobby money. I have a very small budget. Me and my wife each have a portion of our budget that we get for personal. I spend it all on Pokemon. It's not very much. It is. I won't go into detail, but it's very, very little. So the money that I'm spending on Pokemon is coming from the cards that I'm buying, the cards that I'm selling, and now I've gone into this other thing I can talk about later. I teach English to Chinese kids, and it's produced a little bit of extra hobby income for me. 2 last things, guys. Protecting cards. Do not use 3-ring binders. I didn't know that for about 1.5 years, and I was pretty pissed when I finally took those all out of my binders and realized I just bent 1/9 of all my cards because one part of my binder was getting creased. It was my left side. Anyways, guys, do not use binders. I won't go into it, but binders create dents in cards. It doesn't take too much to understand that. Do not use 3-ring binders. Use Ultra Pro binders. I use X4 binders. I like these ones a lot. They let's see, you can see them here. It comes with this nice it's a 4x3, right, on each page. So I like these a lot. I think that they look really nice. They're better protection. You're not getting any creases on them. Also, within each of those, I use penny sleeves. So penny sleeves then go in the binder, and then other cards are top loaders. Other cards are PSA encased. So keep them nice. I won't go into organization on how to organize them, but I also have a lot of loose cards, and I decided the best way for me to keep them is in penny sleeves, but keep them inside of these because they're not going anywhere, right? So they're still in sleeves, but they're not gonna go anywhere when they're in here. Whereas if they're in a binder, or they're just loose, I don't know, just lying around, they're gonna get bent and damaged. But in there, they're nice and easy to keep track of. I'll go into organization another day. And lastly, guys, is PayPal. If you're buying locally, know the difference between goods and services and friends and family. If you're buying goods and services, you are protected by PayPal. And the business ends up paying a fee. So if you buy goods and services for your protection, which is always a good idea, the buyer or the seller might ask you to pay an additional percentage because they're going to be charged extra if you use goods and services. Now, if you trust someone and you don't care about being protected, and it's a risky situation, then pay family and friends, and you will end up taking the hit. You'll pay a little fee, and you won't be protected, but the seller might be more willing to work with you. A lot of sellers do like using friends and family, but if you're ever buying anything that's any good amount of money, always use goods and services. Pay your extra fees. Who cares? You'll pay whatever percentage it is, but just pay it, get it over with, because you will. That's the only way you're going to be protected. So use goods and services. If anyone's like, you must use family and friends, be wary, because it could be a scam. Venmo is also another option if you use Venmo, but Venmo, there's also, I haven't looked into it too much, but if someone has stolen a credit card and they end up paying you with Venmo, and then later your Venmo can actually be like redacted or like taken back from your account, they'll end up, Venmo can end up taking that money back. So be careful with Venmo. PayPal is definitely the way to go. Goods and services. But if I'm selling, friends and families always works great too, because I trust myself and whatever. But anyways, guys, that is it. That is what I've done to obtain a $10,000 collection. I have not had time to go through my collection. I would love to do it sometime. I'll just give you a little sneak peek.